There was a time when you wished you could see through someone the moment you met them to know whether they were genuinely sincere or just wearing the perfect mask of a manipulator. That wish isn't some fairy tale fantasy. In today's video, you'll uncover a single question, seemingly simple, that can expose the true nature of a narcissist in just 5 seconds. But we won't stop at recognition. You'll be guided step by step on how to respond, establish firm boundaries, and protect yourself from subtle manipulation. This is knowledge you deserve, not to live in fear, but to take control. So if you've ever felt hurt by someone who constantly placed their ego above your worth, make sure to watch this video to the end. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because this is just the beginning of your journey to reclaim your strength and peace. 1. There is a simple way to identify a narcissist, and it doesn't require magic. Imagine this: you're standing in a room flooded with light. Everything is clear except for one quiet, shadowy corner, a place where you're unsure what might be lurking. That's where the narcissist often resides, a realm of external charm, masking a labyrinth of manipulation, emptiness, and control. But here's the miracle: you don't have to plunge into the darkness to know who they are. Just one question asked at the right moment can make their flawless mask slip, revealing a face that was never meant to be seen. No high-tech gadgets, no forced confessions, no waiting for clear signs. Just a moment of courage to ask, to observe, and to trust what their reaction reveals. That's when truth shows itself. Have you ever asked yourself, how did I end up in such a damaging relationship without even realizing it? The answer is this: narcissists don't enter your life with a bang. They come in sweetly, with false empathy, with compliments that seem casual and innocent. But all of it is just the beginning of a calculated test, a series of subtle experiments to probe, manipulate, and gain control over you piece by piece. They don't love you. They need you as an emotional fuel source to maintain their grand illusion of self. You're not a partner. You're a mirror for their ego, a supplier for their emotional void. But don't despair, because you too have a weapon, and it's not your muscles or your education. It's your awareness. When you understand what's happening, you stop being the prey and start becoming the navigator. And this video is part of awakening that navigator within. So what's the question? It's not magic. It's a tool that helps you trigger the truth behind the person in front of you. I can't do that right now. I hope you'll respect my decision. Sounds simple, doesn't it? But in the 5 seconds after you say those words, you'll witness something that months, even years of interaction may never reveal their true reaction. A healthy person will respect your boundaries. They might be disappointed, but they'll understand. They won't try to control you. But a narcissist, they can't stand being told no. They will instantly shift tactics from sweet to blaming, from victim to aggressor, from smiling to silent pressure, all designed to reclaim the control they just lost. Imagine you're holding a mirror not to look at yourself, but to reflect what stands before you. That question is that mirror. It doesn't accuse, it doesn't insult, but it demands respect. And that is something a narcissist will never freely give unless there's a condition attached. This isn't entertainment. This is an early warning system designed to help you avoid being pulled into a spiral of manipulation, control, and emotional exhaustion. When you learn to observe others' reactions, stop being a mystery and become valuable data. And that data tells you whether you're facing a healthy adult or a wounded soul ready to destroy anyone who gets too close. But be careful: once you begin setting boundaries, you'll quickly discover who never loved you. They only loved the power they had over you. And in that moment, truth doesn't need to be shouted. It only needs to be seen. If you've ever found yourself trapped in a relationship that drained you mentally, made you apologize for everything, or caused you to doubt your own perception, maybe it's time you learned to see. Don't blame yourself for not knowing sooner. No one taught you this in school. But you're here now, you're learning, awakening, and ready to step out of the shadows. So I invite you to join me in this video. Together we'll explore how to use this magic question wisely, and more importantly, how to hold your ground when the truth begins to rise. Don't stop at recognition. Learn how to take action, because awareness without action only keeps you painfully awake. Watch to the end so you don't miss the 5 real-life scenarios where this question becomes the key to unlocking what the narcissist has desperately tried to hide. And if you find this video helpful, don't forget to hit that subscribe button to receive more content that helps you become stronger, more aware, and more true to your own worth. 2. There is a moment seemingly small yet powerful enough to reveal the true nature of a person the moment you dare to say no. Not with a shout, not with rebellion, but with a calm, steady refusal unaccompanied by excuses. And in that very moment, the polished mask many wear so carefully begins to crack. For healthy individuals, your boundaries are respected. They understand that love cannot exist without freedom. But to a narcissist, your boundary isn't a limit. It's a declaration of war. They don't approach you to walk beside you. They approach you to test you. They don't really care about your plans for tomorrow. They just want to know if you're available to meet their needs. A simple question like, "Are you busy this afternoon?" turns out to be the opening move, a subtle probe to see how easily you can be controlled. If you reply that you have no specific plans, they will quickly fill that space with an imposition disguised as an innocent invitation. If you say you need time for yourself, they won't step back. They'll begin to persuade to guilt trip or to nudge you into feeling uneasy. Because to them, every refusal is a blow to their fragile ego. When you say no, you're doing what few dare to do. You're unplugging the machine that runs on control, and they will react. Not after hours or days, but within 5 seconds. Psychological warfare begins instantly. Some will go for the blame tactic, "I planned this just for you. How could you?" Others will morph into the victim. "I thought you understood me. I guess I was wrong." And if that doesn't work, they'll escalate with anger, cold silence, or veiled sarcasm. This is the first boundary test, and it's also where you can see the truth before deeper wounds are inflicted. If you stand your ground, keep your voice calm and gently repeat your decision. "I'm sorry, but I won't be able to join." You're sending a powerful message. You are not a puppet they can manipulate. And now is the time to listen, not with your ears, but with your inner awareness. A healthy person may feel disappointed, but they'll respect your choice, because they see you as a person, not a tool. The narcissist, however, won't let go. They'll try everything to regain control. And the painful truth is this: their reaction doesn't stem from love for you, but from fear of losing dominance over you. They don't miss you, they miss the power they just lost. Once you realize this, you'll understand that their silence after your refusal isn't quiet sadness, it's a form of punishment. When they suddenly turn cold, ignore your messages, or disappear in passive-aggressive silence, it's their way of making you feel guilty. They hope the discomfort of that distance will force you to come back with an apology, even though you've done nothing wrong. In that moment, you have 2 choices. Either you bend yourself to keep someone who doesn't respect your boundaries, or you stand in your worth and let go of someone you never truly had. Remember, every time you compromise out of fear of losing them, you trade away a piece of your inner freedom. Do it enough times and you'll be lost in a relationship that was never real. Remember this: someone who truly cares about you won't make you feel guilty for taking care of yourself. They won't make you feel like a bad person for saying, "I need time alone." And they certainly won't use anger, silence, or wounded emotions to force you to change your mind. Boundaries are not walls that divide, they are gates that lead to healthy relationships. But for a narcissist, that gate is a barrier to their control, and they'll do everything they can to tear it down. That's why you must learn to build the gate and hold the key. Watch how they react when you say no, not with fear, but with awareness. Because their reactions will tell you everything. You don't need to scream to be heard. You don't need to argue to prove your worth. Just one clear, calm word backed by inner resolve is enough to expose the truth. And once you've seen the truth, you can't pretend you haven't. 3. There is a truth that everyone who walks away from a relationship with a narcissist must eventually face your kindness, your forgiveness, your patience. They were never enough for them. Because to a narcissist, love isn't about connection, it's about conquest. And in that twisted game, the more they are forgiven, the more they see you as someone easy to control. So what happens when you stop forgiving? When you look at their toxic behavior and for the first time in your life, dare to call it what it truly is. What follows isn't remorse. It isn't a sincere apology. It's rage dressed up as victimhood. It's a glare full of resentment. It's the blame that you're being too sensitive, too rigid, too unloving. Not because they actually believe you're wrong, but because you just did the one thing they cannot tolerate. You stepped out of the script they were directing. In the eyes of the narcissist, you're no longer a lover, a partner, or family. You're a mirror. And when that mirror starts to reflect the truth, their selfishness, cruelty, deceit, they will do anything to shatter it rather than face the image staring back at them. They will respond in one of two ways: deflection or counterattack. They may blame you. I only did that because I loved you too much. They may mock you. You always think you're right, don't you? Or worse, they'll start projecting everything you said. Actually, you're the manipulator, not me. If you're unprepared, you'll easily fall into the trap of defense. You'll try to explain, you'll offer evidence, you'll insist you didn't mean to hurt them. But what you don't realize is they're not looking for understanding. They're looking to reassert control. When you refuse to cover for them, refuse to stay silent, refuse to endure, you're breaking the very power structure they built with your silence and your goodness. And that terrifies them. There's a bitter truth you must come to terms with. Narcissists don't feel remorse the way you hope. They don't seek to make things right. They only want to stop you from seeing what they did wrong. And if you're too stubborn to play along, they'll resort to their last strategy: deny reality altogether. They'll make you doubt yourself. I don't remember saying that. You're imagining things. They'll minimize your feelings. You're overreacting again. They'll make you question. Maybe I'm the problem. Every word, every gesture is designed to bring you back into the role of the agreeable one, the one who doesn't question, doesn't challenge, doesn't make them feel wrong. And if you refuse to return, they'll rewrite the entire narrative from manipulator to poor victim. And you, the only one brave enough to stand up, become the villain, the betrayer, the heartless one. But do you know what hurts even more than their attack? The fact that you once hoped they'd understand. That if you just explained it clearly, calmly, sincerely, they would change. That if you were patient and gave them time, one day they would see the damage they caused. But the truth is not what they want. The truth is a threat to their power. And that's why the more right you are, the more they'll fight you. But this is where you must become more grounded than ever. Don't apologize for speaking the truth. Don't back down just because someone gets angry when you refuse to stay silent. Don't think you're heartless because you're no longer willing to suffer. You don't need to be kind to the point of self-destruction to prove your worth. You don't have to keep forgiving harmful behavior just to be seen as someone who loves deeply. Love never means hurting someone and expecting them to endure it in the name of affection. Refusing to tolerate abuse is not hatred. It means you've learned the lesson. It means you've chosen healing over further harm. So if you find yourself in that very moment where you've just said, "No, I won't accept this anymore," and the other person is reacting with rage, with tears, with coldness, or toxic words, remember this: you're not wrong. You're beginning to step out of the cage you hadn't realized you'd been trapped in for far too long. 4. There's a painful paradox in the world of emotions. The warmest souls often attract the coldest ones. And if you've ever felt that your gentleness, your willingness to listen, to heal, to love, somehow made you the target of those who drained and shattered you, it's not a coincidence. It's the silent law of human psychology. Light always draws the attention of darkness. The narcissist doesn't come to you because they love you. They come because they see something they can never truly possess. Genuine affection, effortless joy, the softness in your eyes, the stillness in your heart. All these things, your natural essence, are luxuries to them. In your presence, they're forced to confront their own inner void, and that both attracts and enrages them. You become a mirror, not one that merely reflects their face, but one that reveals the cracks in their soul they refuse to acknowledge. That's why they can't truly love you. They only love the feeling of being near you, like a starving man discovering a feast. But real love requires equality, and a narcissist will never step down from the throne of their distorted ego to stand as your equal. And so what begins as a magical connection quickly devolves into a quiet conquest. They don't want to understand you, they want to own you. They don't seek your heart, they crave the power to control it. In their eyes, you are no longer a person. You are a spiritual spring they feel entitled to drink from without ever asking if you are running dry. And the tragedy is, they don't know how to treasure beauty. They only know how to break it. They will start by idealizing you as if you're the only light in their life. They will act as though they need you like air, as if you are the cure for a childhood wound they've never shared with anyone. But over time, the very light they once adored begins to irritate them. They'll try to dim you, shrink you, and if they can, erase you. Why? Because every time you laugh, love authentically, love without strings, you remind them, I'm not like you. I don't need to destroy to feel powerful. And that threatens their fragile ego more than any criticism ever could. They will start to dismantle you with subtle mockery, making you doubt your own emotions. They'll make you believe your sensitivity is a flaw, your kindness is naivety, and your forgiveness is weakness. They will twist reality until you no longer trust the light within yourself. And what's crueler still is that they'll begin to resent the very things that once drew them to you. They won't say it, but inside they're screaming, why can you live so lightly? Why are you loved without controlling others? Why can you be truly happy while I only know how to wear a mask? They can't bear that you possess what they lack. And rather than learn, rather than heal, they take the familiar path, dragging you down with them. And you once seen as the light begin to dim under the weight of doubt, depletion, and damage. But here's what you must remember, no matter how painful it feels. Empathy is not an open invitation for anyone to enter. Your gentleness is a gift, not a weakness. And if someone sees your light as something to extinguish rather than cherish, they never deserved it to begin with. You don't have to change to fit someone who can't grasp the value of compassion. You don't have to break yourself to hold on to someone who only loves you when you're weak, compliant, and silent. And you must never forget that your light is yours. No one has the right to steal it. Learn to set boundaries not because you're selfish, but because you were never meant to be the crutch for those who refuse to stand on their own. Learn to walk away when you realize you're being used, not because you lack love, but because you've finally started to love yourself more. And remember, light doesn't need permission to shine. It simply needs not to be suffocated by darkness disguised as love. 5. Trust is a sacred gift. But in the hands of a narcissist, it becomes a weapon. When you love someone with your whole heart, when you trust them with the purity of your soul, you never imagine that these very things will become the path they use to enter your life, only to slowly dismantle it from within. A narcissist doesn't arrive like a storm. They slip in like a breeze. At first, they make you feel chosen. They gaze at you with admiration, treat you like treasure, and plant the idea in your heart that finally, someone truly values me. But behind that gaze is not admiration, it's assessment. They're evaluating what you can offer them. Love, admiration, loyalty, money, sex, social connections, anything to serve their inflated yet empty ego. They don't love you as a person. They crave you as a resource, a gold mine, a source of emotional supply. And once you've become valuable enough in their eyes, the subtle assault begins not with harsh words, but with calculated intimacy, with promises never kept, and with a kind of love that only exists when you comply. The respect you give what you consider a basic foundation of a relationship becomes the open door through which they begin to exert control. The trust you offer, the one you guarded for so long, becomes their tool of manipulation because now they know you won't easily walk away. A narcissist isn't content with being loved. They want to be worshipped. They don't just want your presence. They want your dependence, your apologies, your constant effort, and your explanations for things you never did wrong. And the painful part is they know exactly how to get you to do all of it. They'll tell stories of their traumatic past to awaken your compassion. They'll convince you that you're the only one who understands them. They'll make you feel special only to slowly withdraw, leaving you craving, confused, and desperate for reassurance from the very person hurting you. And so it goes, lifting you up, letting you fall, giving, then withdrawing, loving, then turning cold. Not because they're emotionally unstable, but because they're playing a psychological game they've mastered to perfection. And you, with your loving heart and mind not trained to doubt, begin to ask, maybe I'm just not enough. Maybe they're tired and I need to be more patient. If I try a little harder, will they be who they were at the start? But the truth is, they were never who you thought they were. They just played that role long enough to earn your trust. And once they had what they needed, your availability, your forgiveness, your belief that love can heal anything, they began to pull away. Until you were left confused, empty, and emotionally drained. They will exploit you to the very last drop of energy. Not just emotionally, but materially with your time, even your relationships. They won't hesitate to use your own loving words as tools of control. If you really loved me, you're making me feel unloved. I've changed. Can't you see? Words that sound tender but are really disguised. Ropes meant to tie you tighter into a cycle of pain you mistake for hope. And then when you finally begin to see it, when you start to resist, they won't reform. They'll disappear. Suddenly, coldly, without explanation, because they never stay if there's nothing left to extract. To them, you're not a person. You're a resource, now depleted. And the deepest pain won't be that they left. It will be the feeling of being abandoned by the very person who once swore they'd never hurt you. But here's what you must know from the bottom of your heart. This was not your fault. Trusting was not a mistake. Loving with your whole heart is nothing to be ashamed of. What was wrong was someone exploiting those sacred things to feed their control and leaving you to feel like the villain in your own story. From now on, ask yourself one question. Does this relationship make me a better version of myself? Or am I slowly losing who I am? If you constantly feel the need to prove, endure, or accept pain just to keep someone from leaving, then maybe they never truly loved you at all. Rebuild the fences around your trust, not to isolate yourself, but to protect the best parts of you from those who never deserved them in the first place. Perhaps the most painful part of a relationship with a narcissist isn't their departure. It's the moment you realize that the things you once believed in were all a lie. It's looking back at the gaze that once made you feel special, and now recognizing it was just the gaze of someone evaluating your usefulness. It's remembering how you once hoped that if you just loved enough, accepted enough, forgave enough, they would eventually change. But the truth is, they never came to be loved. They came to possess. And if you're sitting there now, holding your fractured heart in your hands, wondering, was I just too naive? The answer is no. You weren't naive. You were a kind person who placed your trust in the wrong hands. The healing journey doesn't begin by seeking justice from the one who hurt you. It begins when you stop looking for answers in them and start asking yourself, who am I when I'm no longer defined by this pain? Who do I want to become after all of this? And most importantly, do I have the courage to live without being anyone's victim ever again? When you dare to walk away from that relationship, not out of anger, but out of awakening, you've already won. Not because you made them regret it, but because you no longer need their apology in order to keep living. From this moment on, you get to choose a different path. A life no longer governed by the hunger for false affection. A world where your boundaries are honored. A version of you strong, free, and radiant, no longer asking anyone's permission to shine. Remember, this strength is not measured by how long you endured, but by your courage to walk away and begin again. Not everyone will understand you. Not everyone will deserve your kindness. But in time, you will find those who are just like you, the ones who don't want to possess your light, but who want to share in its glow. If this video resonated with something inside you, if you're seeking understanding guidance and a community that sees the pain behind your forced smile, hit that subscribe button. Because this isn't just a YouTube channel. This is a safe space to uncover truth, to heal, and to rediscover yourself boldly, peacefully, and without needing anyone's permission to live true to your heart. See you in the next video, where we'll continue the journey of freedom no longer as a victim, but as someone who is finally, fully alive.